And now the news. And this week, adverts finally make it into cars, an electric Boxster is still happening, and a Mustang sedan for under $40,000 in this economy? I swore up and down that these connected cars were going to serve you ads and manipulate you.
Cameras and microphones can be used to figure things out about you that you don't even realize about yourself at the time. And that information gets used under the guise of being helpful, but instead just drives you to spend more money.
But I made a mistake. I thought it would be subtle. I thought it would guide you past takeaway places and suggest purchases based on your conversations inside the vehicle. I did not expect a blatant audio-visual takeover of your car with the express intent of serving you an advertisement. Nevertheless, that's exactly what BMW has just done. In partnership with the new Spider-Man movie, a banner appeared in BMWs newer than the 2020 model year. Upon clicking it, the person gets shown an advert for the Spider-Man movie, complete with surround sound and lighting for the full autism overload experience. Honestly, given my mental state most days, if this happened to me, I would sell the car the next day. Once again, I will say that connected vehicles are a problem. Sure, there are benefits, but it's mostly negative. Do you know what this is? This is the anchoring and adjustment technique happening right before our eyes. If you don't know what that means, it means when a company or an entity introduces something so heinous that they immediately get a bunch of backlash for it. Off the back of that, they then reduce that or remove it, only to leave things in a slightly worse state than it began with from the start. That then acclimatizes people to this new normal of slightly worse than it was before, but at least it's not the horrible one. That is what we're seeing play out before our eyes right now. We've seen the initial over-the-top horrible version of what ads in cars could look like. Now it's going to be scaled back. Then quietly it'll get reintroduced. It'll be less in your face, like a tiny little ad in the corner. People won't rage over it, but they'll say, oh, it was much worse before. Then other manufacturers are going to start doing it too. You think that giant screen in the new C-Class is there to help you? No. It's there for them to find ways to make more money off of you. Actually, while we're on that, Merck's CEO has said that he still doesn't think that cars have enough screens in them. So that's another thing to dread going forward. You want your door to just be a door? Tough. You want your windscreen to just be glass? Tough. You want to see through your windscreen? Well, here's a subscription. Pro tier gets ads removed from the mirror too. But back to the point here. BMW has put ads in their cars. Other manufacturers will soon put ads in their cars. Don't be a sheep, don't buy these cars, stick it to the man. I was going to make a snarky piece about this saying VW Group don't know what they're doing because they're cancelling all of their models only to greenlight this. But this one actually does make sense. It does fall into the same category as the Q7, but it serves an entirely different market. The Q7 is for rich people with many kids, all of whom do 3 different sports. It's a competent but ultimately forgettable vehicle. The Q8 is for rich people who don't care about their kids. It doesn't matter that their kid is a fatty who needs a forklift just to get into the back seat. What matters is that the parent looks good while they're driving along. They want the other parents to notice them. They want their kids' friends to think that they're cool.
I'm not like a regular mom, I'm a cool mom.
And because these people exist, the Q8 has been a financial success. So when Audi's CEO walked into the job in 2023 and saw that a new Q8 had not yet been greenlit, he actioned it immediately because he knows the value of ego. He knows the value of looking good. He knows the value of Timmy's mom's quick glances. Sticking with VW Group CEOs, Porsche's one has confirmed that the electric 718 isn't dead. After watching the Taycan fail, after watching the Macan EV fail, and killing off some of their best petrol vehicles, this was the natural next step for this bastion of good decision-making we call Porsche. The CEO said that they came to the conclusion that building the 718 EV is the best solution economically, and it'll be a fantastic car. What he's actually saying there is we've made a giant mess of our product strategy, and heads will roll if we throw away all the money we've put into this half-baked car that the market doesn't want. So we're going to make it anyway and just pray to Ferdinand that it somehow works. Unsurprisingly, there are no available details on the car, but that's probably because even Porsche doesn't know them yet. The Blackbird is coming back. Sadly, it's not in the form of a spy plane that was the coolest thing on the planet when you were 5, and is still the coolest thing on the planet if you're 35, but a car instead. That said, Hennessey, the company behind cars like the Venom GT, is the exact company you want to make a car called the Blackbird. I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit of a weird looking thing. Some might even call it ugly. But all is forgiven when you see those two vertical mounted fins, a direct reference to the SR71. Those actually move to help direct airflow, which just adds to the cool factor. If they don't take a black one of these and park it in front of an SR71 to promote it, well, then marketing is dead. That all aside, the car is developed properly in-house with the motor coming from a company called Ilmor. That motor is a 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 that'll do around 800 horsepower. There are no turbos or hybrids in sight, and curb weight is around 1,360 kilograms. That means the car should be good for a 0 to 100 km an hour time of 2.5 seconds and a top speed of over 350 km, all while keeping to that true analog feel. The car will be limited to 71 units costing a cool $2.5 million each, and it'll be shown off at the Monterey Car Week, with production expected to start in 2028. And on the other end of the technology spectrum, we have this. It's the Hispano Suiza Carmen Sagrera, a car created to celebrate 120 years of a brand no one's ever heard of. It's fully electric, pushing out just over 1,100 horsepower, and does 0 to 100 km per hour in 2.6 seconds, or slightly slower than the V8, just saying. And whereas that V8 and the Hennessey around it tries to make itself as analog as possible, this tries to make itself as electronic as possible. The car is basically a moving laptop with over 100 sensors and enough processing power to handle 200 million instructions per second. What that means is it takes all the data it's given, and in microseconds can adjust anything from traction to energy management to responsiveness. And while this would normally be a recipe for disconnection, Hispano Suiza say that this has been developed specifically to sit quietly in the background and only help as needed. Supposedly this makes the car more engaging rather than less, or in other words, the opposite of what electronics usually do in a car. That's neither here nor there, but there is a lesson that I really hope that they've learned up front. Modern aeroplanes rely heavily on sensors, and this is one of the reasons they're so safe. But there have been accidents in the past where something as simple as an air pressure sensor getting blocked have led to a plane crash. I hope this car is never sent spinning into a tree because the system got a bad reading from a dirty sensor. Ford is looking to introduce a 4-door Mustang. But don't get your hopes up for the return of the Falcon or the Crown Vic. Because while it is rumored to have a V8 or a V8 hybrid, the stats just don't line up to me. At a dealer conference this past week, Ford promised that the car would cost less than $40,000 and have a 0 to 100 km an hour time of under 4 seconds, while also having more rear legroom than a Panamera. Now, firstly, under 4 seconds and under $40,000 doesn't add up even in this age of electrification. So either they're lying or this is going to be some kind of E-Rev. And E-Revs tend not to have a V8, especially when the engine isn't powering the wheels directly. That just adds to the fact that the math just doesn't add up on a car that costs less than $40,000 and apparently will have a V8 in it. We just don't live in those times anymore. The other mention is the Panamera. If anything, if you're looking at that price range, surely the Elantra, a car you effectively gave the entire sedan market to, would make a more fitting comparison. So there's definitely something fishy going on here. My thoughts are that we're going to get one of the following. Either a Panamera rival with a V8 hybrid setup and a price to match, or an EV or an E-Rev that's built to a budget just to try and get back some of the market share they lost. There aren't any details on when this car will be produced or come to market, but it does seem they're pretty serious about making it. They're also serious about a new small crossover which will go into production in 2029. Interestingly, it'll be produced in Mexico, 1 year after the next US elections, so I think they're taking a bet on US trade relations improving by then. Supposedly it'll start around $25,000, and while I initially thought this might be the next Cougar, it doesn't seem to be the case. That's because the next Cougar, much like the next Fiesta, has been confirmed to be a Renault wearing an American flag. And that is the end of the news.